Welcome to another episode of Real Business Roundtable. Today we're going to talk about the difference between business school and business experience.
Yeah.
So I think formal education versus actual hands-on everyday experience.
I think this is a great topic just because I purely have experience in maybe a semester of college, whereas he has, college and he got experience. So I feel like this is a great topic. And, I just want to preface this conversation with, what works for someone may not work for the other person. So it's all based on what you want to do. If you want to go to college, that's great. If you want to get into an occupation that requires college, it's perfect. But in some scenarios, college isn't necessary. I was in a family where college was very important. My younger brother went to college, college was very important, right? But I didn't agree. So I kind of took the different route, and it worked out, and it worked out for me. So this is a great topic to have, great topic to talk about between someone who went to college and someone who didn't.
In my house, growing up, I either had to, and I'm going to do this in my dad's accent, you get a job and you go to school, or you piece of shit. So my dad, it was no questions. You go to school. You go to school, you pick a trade, whatever. And I wasn't really kind of I was interested in business, and I had to kind of explain that to my parents and my dad because they kind of had a vision for me, which wasn't exactly the same as my direction. But my dad says, you do a good job, be the best you can be, and get a job.
Yeah.
So my upbringing was you have to go to school. Mm-hmm. So I just went to a small local business college, learned, got my bachelor's in business management with a minor in marketing. And then what I did after that, which here's the thing, in my opinion, the difference between business school and business experience is school sort of gives you that rough sketch, rough outline of what to expect and what to, different philosophies, different thoughts, different elements of business, from accounting to marketing to creative to the viability of an industry, economics. You sort of get that baseline understanding of the essentials. But after actually going to school, getting a degree, it's kind of was that really valuable? So I'm kind of on the fence of yes and no. There was some substance, some value in the college education, but what I really enjoyed was the step moving into the real business world and moving on to kind of a hybrid, which was the management consulting firm, the business consulting firm. So I was really heavy into that industry for many years, where I was working for a company that was like a doctor's office for businesses, and all we did was improve businesses. So when you do that for years and years and years, you learn a lot about business. And that was and I was advised to do that. They said, you need to get a job in a management consulting company. And I looked and looked and looked, and I found one gig in one place, and they kind of, like I said before, I think I talked about this, they kind of put a ceiling up. I really couldn't advance in the company. And then I moved on to another company where they did allow me to advance and become better. So I kind of learned all that stuff. Then I moved over into actually starting a business. So I went from formal business education to working for a company that was fixing businesses, even a more deeper dive into business, and then going into business for myself. So I got a blend of both sides of the spectrum and sort of a hybrid in the middle. So going into business for myself, I can tell you right now, the hands-on experience is a lot more impactful, it's louder, it's in your face, it's real. It's not like a case study, white paper, test, fake, fictitious bullshit thing you do in school. Because we used to create fake companies in school, and we're going to sell to the agriculture industry, and we're going to help crop yields by 40% by doing this. It's all fake. It's all made up. In real life business, real hands-on experience, whole different ballgame. You're working with a client, and technically your livelihood is in their hands, in your hands, and you have to deliver, and you can't mess around.
You're held responsible. You have to
deliver. You have to deliver. That's very important. When someone hires you and you're actually in business for yourself, you have a responsibility to do the best you can do and to provide them the service or provide the product that they want.
Yeah. I can't really put an opinion on school if experiences in school is better. I know what I've learned from my experience and what I did and the process I took. You know, I went to school for, you know, a semester, and for my family, similar to yours, is it was very, very important to go to school.
Yes.
They wanted me to be a lawyer. They wanted me to, you know, to be some big position in a company. They knew I had that, right? And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had no idea. Going into college, I had no clue what I was going to do. I got into some colleges that I wanted to go to, but then, you know, a lot of things changed for me. I had an out, fortunately, to get out of college, which I think was like, that really, you know, helped me out a lot in deciding what I wanted to do. But yeah, I dropped out after a semester of school, and then I just went kind of in the deep end. I just threw myself in. You know, I wasn't going to go and get a job and work for someone. I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to help businesses somehow. I wanted to help businesses grow. I wanted to, you know, if it was marketing, if it was sales, if it was consulting, no matter what it was, I knew that I wanted to be part of that industry. And I threw myself in the deep end, and it was hard. I worked for free for almost a year, like for free. I was barely making any money at all. I had to do, you know, some stuff here and there. I was working, whatever. But I just threw myself in the deep end, and I learned a lot at a very aggressive rate. And, you know, I'm fortunate that I forced myself to do that, to kind of give me a no-fail option. Like it wasn't an option for me. I had to. I dropped out of college, and I was just doing stuff, you know? And so I gained a lot of knowledge from that experience. You know, to me, I think I gained a lot more experience in those years than I would at any college. Would I understand maybe a fundamental, you know, foundation of business and marketing? Maybe I didn't get that, but I did gain that through, you know, working with, you know, Andy and, you know, doing things myself and building businesses and understanding, you know, how to form these businesses and how to do this stuff and how to market them and all. I learned all of that from my experience. I don't know if it was more valuable than school, but, you know, I personally think it was.
School is good for someone if they have absolutely no idea of the foundation. Because I always kind of had you know, in high school, I took a couple like electives, business electives, but it was kind of common sense stuff. I was like, okay, yeah, the accounting. All right, that was interesting. That was different. That was something I didn't know. Although I had a professor that used to drive me crazy because I have really bad ADD, and he was from New York. And he threw me off completely. This was accounting 101. Oh my God. Like the first, second class or whatever, he's sitting there. He's like, all right, you got a ledger. He's like, you got a ledger. On the left, you got hot dogs in. On the right, you got hot dogs out. That's how we talked. I couldn't focus. I learned nothing in that class. Every analogy was hot dogs. Every other math teacher out there, they always say apples. You got 2 apples, you got 3. Everything was hot dogs. I'm just sitting there thinking of like Oscar Mayer hot dogs, and my ADD is all over the place. I can't focus. Dude, I failed that class. I had to take a makeup class because that professor was so bad. He was such a distraction. He wore pants that were like 4 times the size. Like he just, his clothes were hanging off of him. He was a real wild character. Horrible, horrible teacher. Nice guy, but horrible teacher. Just his analogies and like some people are really good at teaching. Some people are not.
Yeah.
Some people can't convey a message. Some people just. But it was the way he broke down accounting, it complicated it, but then he'd say shit that you were trying not to laugh at in class that would totally throw off your concentration, like the hot dog thing.
Maybe he was trying to get you to concentrate.
Hey, you got 2 hot dogs, you sell 4. Like it was wild. He goes, what do you put in the ledger? How many hot dogs you got left? Everybody was trying not to laugh in the class. It was a joke.
Was he like trying to be funny? Like, was he looking for like a funny reaction or no?
Dude, he was just a wacky dude. He was just a wacky dude. So I ended up taking a makeup course, and I was very lucky. I remember like the counselor advisor for the college was like, "You're really lucky. The guy who wrote your textbook, it actually wants to teach students now." I was like, "Wow, let me check this out." He'd never forget his name. Maybe I shouldn't say the name because I don't want anybody figuring out who the professor was that sucked. He was a famous accounting textbook writer. He actually came out and taught the accounting class, so I had to take the class again. Like a breeze. He was one of the best teachers I've ever had. I learned it. I was actually learning. I go, wow, this guy's actually very intelligent and he knows how to teach. So it was what I'm trying to get at is, so business school was a good rough, picture a sketch. So say you're going to build a business career. You know you're going to do something business related. Going to business school is like, picture you're going to create a beautiful piece of artwork. You're doing a rough sketch with pencil. You're just setting up the lines and the shapes. Like, before people do murals and stuff, they kind of do outlines of where they're going to put what. That's what a business education at a formal like school is good for, is that rough sketch. But then you fill in all the colors and the beauty and the dynamic presence of it with actual learning and doing. That will fill it in with vibrant color. But one thing that's really, really, really trippy, and maybe someone watching could explain this to me, I will learn things subconsciously that I don't think in the forefront of my brain that I've learned. But if I'm like in a deep sleep or I'm really, really rested or relaxing, stuff will come back to me.
Stuff will come back.
Dude, one time I was laying in bed and I like broke down the whole world economic system in my head. Everything from, commodities to materials, construction to electrical infrastructures.
Yeah.
Dude, like shipping containers and commerce and international trade. It was going through my head like the little memes that you see with the calculations. Like I was breaking down the world economic system in my brain when I was super relaxed, and I go, where did all this knowledge come from? I don't remember being taught this.
Yeah.
But I was like, wait a minute. I took several economic courses in college, and I think it goes in my subconscious because stuff that like I learned in grade school about grammar and writing that I don't know that I don't remember I learned it, but it'll come back to me and I go, oh, wait a minute. So then maybe there is a reason for that formal education, because like I see the pluses and I see the negatives. So I'm like, it doesn't hurt, but don't feel like it's the end all be all, because some of that stuff was in my subconscious and I'm like, wow, it came to me at a very weird moment.
One thing that I noticed about, and I kind of mentioned this in the last episode, is that like I'll put myself in situations where I'm doing something that I'll learn about, right? I'll continue to learn about this thing. But during that, I also like subconsciously notice other things that I learned doing that thing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, for example, like when I first went in and sold different people what I was going to do for them, what I was going to try to do for them.
Yep.
I was going in with the intention of learning what I was going to do, right? I was going to learn ads. I was going to learn this. I was going to learn that. But subconsciously, I was like, oh, like if I said this, I could have sold quicker. Or if I said, I was learning about sales and about how people, responded to the things I was saying, or, how to control the conversation. When I was on the phone, hitting phones, when I first started working with you, that was like the biggest learning experience for me, right? Whenever I do anything, it's always like learning something from it. It could be negative. I got to learn something from it. Right now, I'm learning a lot about contracts and a lot about legal structures and stuff like that, because I'm
business law.
Yeah, business law. I'm learning a lot about that. I've actually been reading a lot about it too.
4 years of business law. Holy crap. Learning about torts, clauses.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's stuff that will put you asleep, but it's good to know as a foundation about just a standard business contract, and what are the attributes of a proper agreement?
It's interesting because, when I was first looking into colleges and stuff, I had different things that I wanted to do, right? I wanted to go into pharmaceuticals. That was one thing because I had experience with different medications and whatever. I'm not going to get into that, but I wanted to get into pharmaceuticals. But then at the same time, I wanted to be a lawyer. But I didn't really express that. If I wasn't going to do this, I wanted to be, like I said before, I applied to Bentley and all these schools, and I got into some of them because I did good in school, but I didn't end up doing that. And so for me, like, I'm learning a lot about contracts and a lot about business law. And it's really interesting to me between, setting up contracts between two businesses to consolidate a deal or whatever it may be. And it's like, for me, it's like a game of chess. Like the things that are in there. Part of me hates it because the more stringent my agreement, the more it says that I don't trust the person. I've written contracts for I've literally spent weeks on agreements that if there's someone I'm kind of what loophole are they going to look for? Mm-hmm. And I'm just stressing about it, and I'm hitting these points where I'm like, you know what, I don't want to do business with them. And then a part of me is like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, and I'm typing all these like, what if this happens, you can't do this. If this does happen, you can do that. But if this happens at midnight and a duck crosses the street, then you can nibble on some bread. Yeah. So it's like I all these crazy loopholes. I used to work. He watches the show. He's gonna know. Yes, no. I'm not gonna say his name. I'm not gonna say his name. But holy shit, he was the king of loopholes. He'd be like, nah, dude, this and that. And I'm like, oh, he's right. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. Oh. No, we had some good times. No, but I'm not gonna shit talk. But like, this kid was like the negotiator of negotiators, and he was like a wolf. He could like read an agreement and he'd find some loophole. He'd be like, nah, dude, the wind is blowing east. You owe me 30% more. I'm like, wait a minute. Wait. Hold on. Nah, dude, pay up. I'm like, wait, hold on. No. And he's like, I'm like, wait a minute. Oh my God, the wind blew east. I owe you 30%. No! So I would sit there for weeks and like, I'm sweating. Like, I'm on my couch at home and I'm like, okay, no, can't do this. Can't do that. It wasn't so much about, some other businesses like that I'll work with. I'll add a few clauses, but like, this was a broker relationship where he brought some value to the table, generally, good person, but he was a king of negotiators. And if something didn't go exact, he would know. And he would just, in business, you need to find all loopholes, and fill those loopholes with the best strawberry cream you can find to prevent those surprises. Yeah. Because when you get cornered and you're like, oh my God, 30%, the wind blew east. You have really no out. So you need to make sure that your agreements are solid. And when I was talking about earlier, like getting into these contracts and stuff, like I wasn't really necessarily talking about agreements between a service and a business, like a service provider and a business.
Any agreement in business, in general, either with a broker or a client or whatever, you need to make sure you cover your loopholes. Yeah. Dude, loopholes. Holy shit. It basically, let's define a loophole for the audience. A loophole is when you read an agreement and you find a way to go outside of what was agreed to. I'll give you guys a great example. I had a client that signed an agreement with me, and I accidentally left a clause in there that said he owned everything that was created after 12 months. His agreement with me was for 36 months. At the end of 12 months, he called me and said, well, sorry, I own everything. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And I go back in the agreement and it said you own all the rights to everything after 12 months. But the structure of his agreement was like a payment plan over the course of 3 years. And I was like, I didn't know what to do. Yeah. And he was like, sorry, that's a loophole. Cover all your bases, cover your ass. So what I'm trying to get at here is pay attention to loopholes, get an understanding of business law, contract law. But when it comes to contract law, this is where I kind of lean towards, yes, school was extremely valuable.
Yeah, and so that's like something that I'm learning a lot about right now, because what I'm doing, other than this, what I'm doing is it has a lot to do with contracts and, covering yourself in certain ways. And I'm learning a lot about it. And I've talked with, attorneys and lawyers, and they help me. And, I've learned a lot from it, and I'm able to draft up my own contracts and be able to cover myself and be lenient in some areas. And
always be fair.
Yeah, it's that too. So I always try to, it's benefiting each side, and it's just, it's a process, like I said before, that I'm learning that I didn't learn in school, and I actually really enjoy it. And I knew I would because of what I initially wanted to do if I went to school. You hire people, right? Let's say you're hiring someone as an executive position. If they come in with a degree, let's say they have 5 years, right? 5 years before of experience in some way, not experience. They have a degree of 5 years where they have a good degree, really good. It's admirable. Or they have 5 years of straight up work. Maybe they started a business. Maybe they did this. They have experience, true experience out of high school. Which one are you comfortable saying which one you would lean towards?
Yeah. Experience.
Yeah.
All day. My operations manager, I found him at a retail establishment. Unbelievable customer service skills. I overheard him, and I was like, "Hey, dude, here's my card. I'd love to offer you something." I've run ads for that position, and the people that come through the door, it's all personality mainly, and organization skills, but personality is a big piece into any kind of client services, customer service, operations management. You're doing a lot of customer facing. Your personality is 90% of what I'm looking for. And if I'm just out and about and I hear somebody speaking to a customer in a very informative way, I'm going to say, hey, that person's got the skills. The problem is when I run a bunch of Indeed ads, I get 99% shitheads that have horrible, just not a fit, just bad personalities. I'm like, why would I have you speak to my clients? It's just not going to work.
Yeah.
But I always go for experience. Some of my best people had restaurant backgrounds because they knew how to interact with people, or they had a retail background.
Yeah.
You have someone coming in, from Microsoft. Oh yeah, I was the senior director at Microsoft and I want $1 gazillion a year. And I'm like, well, this person that worked at Joe's Bar and Grill is 1,000 times better than you because they have the people skills.
Yeah.
It's the people skills. So for
certain positions, yeah.
Dude, I've had self-taught web developers that didn't go to school, but they show me their work.
Yeah.
They show me the actual code, and I show my team. I go, dude, what do you think of this? And they're like, he's solid. Some of these people are self-taught, no degree, but they're really, really good at what they do. It's about experience and delivery. Are you delivering? What?
If I'm just thinking about if I came to you when we first met, right? And I said I did sales, right, in college. Because I just remembered this thing where, a couple of my buddies were going to school, and they were like, and I was really tempted. I was so tempted on finding a way, but I would have been a little weird. I probably would have gotten in trouble, but they were doing a sales thing where this college was hosting this sales competition, right? And I was so tempted. This was a couple years after working with you. I was so tempted on going to their school and using someone else's name who's at school there and going and doing the sales competition just to see how I would do. I didn't do it just because it probably would have been pretty bad finding out, or if I gone further and they found out that I wasn't at that school, it just would have been weird, right?
Yeah.
But I was just thinking if I came to you and I said that I did sales in college, would you have treated the conversation differently at all?
I would have said, what?
That's I don't know. It's
what did you sell and how much revenue?
Yeah, you'd have to find out more. Yeah.
What was your monthly rev? That's all I care about is monthly rev. I had a guy once, I interviewed him once. He worked for another ad agency and he kept talking about the total revenue. And I was like, bro, stop talking. Stop adding media buy. Stop adding ads. Don't get me going with that. It's the biggest, most bullshit, deceitful thing in our industry, and I can't hate it. I hate it.
Well, some companies,
I can't stand it. If you're an ad agency and you start throwing out, we do a $500 million a year.
What percentage of that is managing ad spend or managed ad spend?
The ethical way to talk about your ad agency's sales is you say, I manage 100 million. My revenue is not 100 million, 500 million, 600 million. You're lying to people.
Before this gets too...
Joe. You manage $600 million in ads. It's like if a hedge fund said, we do 100 billion in sales. No, motherfucker. You manage 100 billion and you collect a percentage on that advertising. Stop lying to people. All right. So back to what we were talking about. Stop using what you're managing as your sales. That's not your sales.
Maybe that should be another episode.
It's extremely deceitful.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Real Business Roundtable. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications so that you get notified every time we post a new episode. Also, check us out on Instagram where you can see clips, updates, information, and more.
Honesty is key.
Peace.